What's up, guys? As an individual who expresses quite regularly that I love talking about relationships, I have always had it very present in my mind that I have never discussed this aspect of relationships. And really, it's because I hadn't gotten my mind really together on it. And it's already been 2.5 years since I've been vlogging. If I haven't figured it out by now, it's just never gonna happen the way I envision, which is I have clarity to what I'm saying, I can see what I'm saying, I'm sure about what I'm saying. So I'm just going to start this and put it out there, get the conversation started, and maybe someone out there is going to say something that's going to give me a little bit more structure. So I thought I would take the first minute to express that just in case you watch this and you're like, what? So, anyways, relationship submissiveness. Well, first and foremost, this is something that I got mixed feelings on. So, let me give you a little bit of an origin story of mine. And that is when I was younger, as a child, I always found the idea of, and I see you, SG, hello. I always found the idea of me getting married, period. I used to find that pretty repulsive. And it's very simple, very obvious why. I was an abandoned child. So, because I grew up without a father figure, I resented that very, very deeply. And it took me a long time for me to actually have any feeling of the most remote respect in a intimate, personal, and emotional level toward a guy. I, as a child, always thought, look at how hard my mom works. She has 2 kids. She has to do all this work and she does great. She is by herself and she is not taking advantage of welfare. She is getting everything done. We're living comfortably. We can even be spoiled from time to time. Great. But what is the point? What is the point of getting married when in the end the guy is going to commit an atrocity? And basically, by my childhood mentality, because I was in a group of people, like my classmates, they too, for the most part, had their parents split. I thought that that was just the norm. I thought that was just a rule of the land. Like, okay, you'll be married, the kids will come, and eventually the relationship is going to fail and the woman is going to be by herself with children. But I never really understood about the factors that lead to two people separating, except my personal ones, which were the differences between my parents, and then, of course, the stuff that my dad did and didn't do, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but just to give you a vague idea. So basically, I grew up just detesting the idea of being in a relationship. I always said, I am never going to take a guy seriously. I am never going to let a guy touch my skin. I am never going to let a guy be in my life, period. I will be by myself. And yes, I do feel like I want children, but I can grow to hate the idea of becoming a mother. So, anyways, that was pretty much how I used to think as a child. Then, during my adolescence, I found that my mind was evolving. I was not exactly excited about being involved in relationships just yet. It was more of a, I was meeting people, I was starting to socialize more, I was meeting some guys, and then eventually there came there was this guy, there is this guy, etc., etc. And then I said, you know what? Let me get involved. Immediately, my symptoms began to show. And what I mean by that is Prior to a relationship starting, there are those sweet moments of you getting to know the person, you sharing personal details that make you get connected with someone, and you get excited about the fact that there's someone who understands you and they're embracing you for how you are, yada, yada, yada. But of course, as soon as the relationship started, maybe a month, two into it, you start getting comfortable. You start taking a person for granted. And I definitely was one of those people. I was like, okay, I got the guy. So now that I got the guy, I know that he likes me and he's crazy about me. I am pretty sure that I have retained him forever. So I would never do the things that needed to be done in a relationship for it to last and for it to be a happy one. I would never tell nice things to my boyfriend. I would never really thank him for anything. I always took him for granted. I expected for him to just do everything, have his world revolve around mine pretty much. And it was more obsessive, really selfish, really self centered. It was not about us. I made it all about me. And now that I look back and I wonder why, I just had a shit ton of insecurities. And I did not know how to deal with that because I never have had in my time growing up to that point. I never had a solid example of what a functioning relationship, men and women being together, what is that like? What is supposed to happen there? What is the role of each individual? I just looked at it as, well, we're together, but we're our own separate worlds, and it has to remain that way. Like, as the guy, of course, you're going to be the one who's more likely to mess up because I used to think that guys were just thinking about just playing with girls and moving on to the next one. Just no pattern of I am serious, I'm settling down, and this is it. I always looked at guys in that manner because, again, that's all that I knew. The stories of breakups that I would constantly hear about is, the daddy abandoned the mommy. I never heard of the reasons. I never heard anything else. I just heard that the father just left. The father was taken out of the picture. I never really knew of specific details, but usually my peers would say that it was the father's fault. And I'm like, well, what did the father do exactly? And I never had an idea of how important it would be to understand reasons. Because now that I'm older, I realize that for some guys, it's even a trap. And they are just escaping something that is going to ruin their lives for a long time. So, when you're young, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the fact that you were hurt and that the individual who did it fits a specific, uh, what is it, description, and then you carry that with you for the rest of your life. So, anyways, then I started to hit my adult years, young adult, and all that. And I said to myself, okay, clearly none of the relationships that I have had have succeeded. Why? Am I the problem? I knew that I was the problem from the point of view of I had unrealistic expectations of guys. And not only just guys, but young guys, guys who are just my age, which means we just got out of high school. And of course, life is just getting started for us. We don't have resources. We're not from rich families or anything. So I was somehow expecting for the guy to be flying without wings, pretty much. And when I thought about it, I'm like, what am I doing to make the situation better? I'm just treating the guy like he's the one who has to have everything figured out independently and for me to just enjoy the fruits of his labor. Again, I was very self centered, very egotistical, very just, I did not give a damn about who I was with. I just wanted to be all about me and the guy pleases me and it's just me, 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 me. But of course, now in the present, now that you have the preamble, just sort of getting to know where I'm coming from. Now in the present, I'm thinking, holy crap, I think I am condemned to be miserable in every single relationship that I ever get in, because I feel like I am not someone who is really cool with the idea of being submissive. And I understand that is important in a relationship, or do I? I only hear that it is pretty much implied, expected that the woman be the one who's constantly submissive because, for whatever fucking reasons it may be, the guy is going to be the main breadwinner, the guy is the one who builds, the guy is the stronger one, the guy is the protector, etc., etc. The guy this, the guy that. But when you think about it, I feel like that is a very toxic piece of advice, because there are times in which, unfortunately, a woman may get involved with a guy who is simply no good. And in some instances, the guy who is no good is very good at hiding it to where you don't know who you're getting involved with until it's too late. It's very easy to put up a facade and trick someone into believing that they are meeting the genuine you, but then they end up being deceived. In the same manner that the role can be reversed. The guy thinks that he's taking home a sweet, humble lady, but then she turns out to be this person who's just obsessive, extremely jealous, insecure, monitoring him 24/7, just taking his money and all that stuff. All that stuff. So, as someone who has trouble with being submissive, I guess I should explain why I am that way. And I guess the reason why is because the one time that I tried it, it ended up being one of the most miserable times in my life. I was the one girl who just allowed for the guy to have control. What he said was it. I didn't question it. I didn't speak. I never, even if I was not fully happy with what we were doing, I never said anything about it. I never said, so I'm not truly enjoying myself. I'm not truly, I just wanted to be someone who did not inconvenience anybody. I wanted to be someone who could adapt to the situation and make the best of it, regardless of whether or not I am having a blast. And to me, I always put his priorities before mine. And I know that I really don't have much to offer when it comes to, say, financial security, or let's see, how else could I contribute to a relationship? I'm not sure. All I have to offer is me as a person. Like, I'm going to be someone who's going to be uplifting. I'm going to be someone who keeps herself in good shape so that I can be fertile for when the kids come, because I'm sure that's something that you are going to want. Stuff like that. Basically, my bare minimum as a woman, contribute that, supply that. But when I think about it, I feel like encouraging someone to always be submissive is very dangerous, because that's, I'm guessing, how we end up with people who are stuck in relationships that literally endanger their lives. And you are sitting there in an abusive relationship, just taking it, and not feeling like you don't have a way out. Feeling that if you leave the relationship, you are going to be treated like you are the one who is causing the rupture of the relationship, because you're the one who's leaving, and therefore you're the one who's failing. And I'm thinking, why does it have to be that way? Why is it that clearly you're leaving a guy who is no good, but then you may be labeled as the home wrecker because you're the one who's deciding to leave the guy, but nobody actually sits to wonder why your experience is not long lasting. But of course, at least presently, we know that's not true. We know that presently it's whatever the woman says, that's not questioned. That's not at all doubted. It's like if the girl says, I'm a victim of ABC abuse, that's like evidence or no evidence, that's what is taken as absolute truth. Nothing else matters. But anyways, when it comes to a more emotional submission, like I said, I tried it. I tried being emotionally submissive, mentally submissive, everything submissive, and I was miserable. So, just because of that experience, just like my mother met my father, and not everyone has had terrible marriages, some marriages have succeeded and lasted, and those couples last for decades and they're genuinely in love and whatever. I should not really condemn every single guy that comes into my life and be like, oh yeah, this guy is going to absolutely put me through misery again. But I just at all or just not completely. Because again, you're giving someone the means to your destruction. And I don't think that this day and age that stuff is worth it. Again, I tried it. I guess I gave it to the wrong person. I made the decision of like given my all to the wrong person. So I should give someone else an opportunity and not assume that they're not going to fulfill me in the manner that my past experiences didn't. But it's not worth it because I feel like even if I became submissive to someone who is actually the best option for me, the guy who's actually into me and really loves me and really wants me and puts my needs before his own in the same manner that I would put his needs before my own. I'm not sure that that would even fulfill me these days because I maybe I say that out of being salty about the fact that none of my experiences have ever been satisfying or fulfilling for me, but I'm not terrified of submission itself. I just don't want to go through the process, period, until I see that the guy meets certain criteria. And what I mean by that is both of us need to be in a stable situation. Both of us need to have our goals defined. We need to know what we are like personally so that we can determine whether or not we are a good match, and hopefully that will keep disaster from happening because I just don't want to be the one who has to be, what can I say, yes, you're the main breadwinner, you're the protector and everything, but why does it have to be that way? Why can I not be the one who reigns? I get it because on some stuff I'm not there. On some stuff I don't have uh what is it? I don't have that leadership. That's your role. But maybe I genuinely am not made for relationships. See what I mean? It's like if I cannot be in a submissive role permanently, maybe I'm not meant to be in relationships. And that's fine when I think about it. So, anyways, you guys, that's I feel like some stuff I still haven't expressed and it's not clear. But maybe it's from a lack of experience. Because clearly, if I were satisfied being in that role, I don't think I would have any issues to where I'm questioning it. Or let alone, I don't think this topic would exist. And good lord, I'm getting stuff that's cold in here. But anyways, let me see what you guys are saying. Hi, is it cold? Great subject from a warm Kampala. Yes, it is cold. It is like, what is it? 30 degrees outside, and I have not turned on my heater, so it is starting to feel cold in here, and that's why I sound like I'm under the weather because I'm literally under the weather from not having my heat on. But anyways, I'm just not fit for this weather. A woman should only be submissive to her husband, and still you would have to define submissive. Exactly. It's like some levels of submissive vary from person to person because how about this? How about if my experience was that I am actually with a guy who is submissive, a guy who is sensitive, a guy who is more of the you take control, as in me taking control. I know those cases exist. There's guys who are like that. But of course, they are harder to find because I would imagine that if you're a submissive guy, you're also going to keep a lot to yourself, and therefore you're not going to demonstrate the typical behavior of other men, which is you are the outgoing person, you are the go-getter, you are the one who's asking people out, trying to pick up girls, as opposed to being the one who's like, you know what, it would be nice if a girl made a move on me. I would imagine that would be the symptom of a guy who's going to be more on the submissive side. And of course, it's not very encouraged for a guy to be like that, because he is going to be inherently perceived as weak. So, didn't we make a topic about this the other day where I was asking something like, are guys who are sensitive weak, or is sensitivity uh, a guaranteed weakness? And you guys said no, not necessarily. So I guess the trick to relationships is, how do you define yourself and not hold anything back, so that people get to know you exactly for what you are and how you are. And what can I say? That way, when your personalities get together, there's no conflict. Because I feel like there's just too many conflicting emotions. How do you bring about that balance to make it work? And as people who are not very patient these days, as in you don't really get to know somebody, you immediately jump into certain acts, have children together, and then you're like, oh, right, we have a child together. Who are you again? You don't even figure that out. You, yeah, you complicate your life. And that's why relationships don't seem to really develop these days. And there's also the aspect of interest. Some women these days who say that they don't need a man. Okay, let's break that down. What makes you say you don't need a man? Okay, you don't need a man, but you're recurring to the stuff that is that a guy should be supplying for you, but from an artificial source, which would be the government. Like, would you guys agree that most of the women who say I don't need no man usually are the ones who are on welfare? So yes, you do need from someone. You need financial support from someone. A guy could have given it to you. That's why when relationships where there's kids in between end, usually you are taken back financially by many, many years. You don't have that support anymore. You have a creature or two or three that depends on you as well, and you don't have anything to supply them with. And you're sitting there rejecting guys because if you accept a guy into your life, you lose your benefits that are given by the government, which, guess what? The government is pretty much run by men. So, how are you not needing a guy again? I guess you don't need him in your house, but technically you still need from them. So, in that sense, if I'm someone who is not independent enough financially, I should be submissive to a guy so that we can be together and we have our personal lives resolved, and not have to split up to where A, the children suffer, B, we become poor, and C, we have the government getting involved as well. You know? So that's another aspect of submission, I guess, that we should explore, but I'm not sure. I don't have a child. I'm not a single mother, so I cannot say why I find that appealing. It's like you may even choose to be jobless just so you can be a stay-at-home mom, but only with very minimal funds, just enough money to get by. And even if you have free housing, it's like, is that really your standard of living? Is that really an optimal way for you to live? No, you should be aiming to progress. But anyways, that's maybe another topic that we should maybe explore another time. But yeah. Um. Understanding submission or submissiveness and the reasons for it are deep. When you find the person you are supposed to be with, it just sort of works. No submission, just compromise. I'm speaking from experience. And compromise can be really good. I see it as a huge strength and a big trust thing. I'm glad that you put trust in all caps because I find it that I have a very, very, very difficult time trusting people because I find it that they don't seem to be on top of things very efficiently. And I am someone who is on top of her game efficiently. So if I'm trying to share my life with someone who is not as efficient as I am, like I have my standards that I deem acceptable, then we're not meant to be together. Because if I'm going to get together with someone, it's because we make a good team and we can help each other move forward. But if you need a lot of repairing as an adult, I don't feel like I'm someone who needs to be disciplined in those aspects. So I will get frustrated dealing with an adult and trying to get him to be at the top of his game. See what I mean? Um, I mean, I know I need help sometimes. I'm not trying to say, wow, I'm absolutely perfect. There's nothing about me that can be improved. Of course, there is. But I'm just saying that I would not like to be involved with a guy who I literally have to shape from beginning to end. How about if you have something going on for you already to where I can get in there and improve it in the same manner that you'll find me and I feel pretty confident about what I have, who I am, and what I am. And then your implementations will be appreciated and where applicable, I shall see the improvement in me. But for someone to be in a position where you have stuff going on for you already and then you're going to get mixed with someone who has nothing, do you see why there's an imbalance there that sounds like the ingredients for disaster? I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable in that situation. So, but I don't know. Like you stated, sorry, who are you? Robert. Unfortunately, I have never had the experience to where I have left a fulfilling relationship to where I'm like, you know what? I can trust this person. I am satisfied. I feel like I'm very integrated into this team. We have a lot of mutualism going on. I've never had that. but but sometimes I feel like I was the uncooperative one. But in more recent times, no, 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 no. I gave all, my all. So because I did not see anything positive coming out of that, I'm like, well, clearly I was with the wrong person. Let's not do that again. Let's just wait for the right person. Be patient about meeting that person, getting to know them, getting together with them, dating them, and all that. But, yes, I guess there is the magic to being in a relationship like that, but I have to be prepared that maybe I will not find that person. So I have to be okay with moving on and focusing on other stuff. So I used to be someone who focused on my relationships a lot because they're important. They're important to me. I want to be a mother. I want to have my own home. I want to have a husband, but if it doesn't come, I have to be okay with moving on from that. Realistically, not everyone is going to make it. Just like everyone is not going to make it to be a rich and successful person. And that's why you have to determine what it means to be successful for you. Let's see. Someone else said something. I wouldn't define introverted guys as submissive. Oh, absolutely. No, not necessarily. Because sometimes the guys who are not saying much, the guys who aren't talking much, when you get to know them and they start showing their true colors, you're like, oh, you end up being shocked. So, but I feel like the guy who keeps certain things to themselves, you can see it in their behavior. I feel like they tend to be more ceding. They cede power to you. They let you take control, be the decision maker, just things like that. I feel like they put your priorities above their own most of the time, if not all the time. And maybe another thing that happens is those guys, because they enjoy the lady being the one who has control. Do you ever hear a woman say, "How come all the guys end up with a douchebag lady? Where are all the good guys at?" I guess some lady made a move on that guy who is really good and is submissive and is sensitive and all that. But he's trapped with this lady because of the way that she controls him. He finds his lady having control appealing. So how do you deal with that? How do you even battle that? See, that's how I would imagine that psychology is. As someone who used to be on the extremely submissive side of the spectrum, that is how I perceived life. But of course, I can only speak as a female, and I know that female psychology is significantly different from male psychology. So the way I perceive the world from my submissive scope will not be equivalent to the guy and the way he perceives the world from a submissive scope. But one can speculate, I can try to speculate what it is to be with like a guy. Hi, my bandwidth keeps dropping your link. Bye for now. Goodbye. Thanks so much for your contribution. It really helped me to explore another aspect, which is someone who's actually had that experience. And then you're giving me a bit of a look into what that's like. Happy Wednesday, everybody. God bless. Hello, Jordan. It's good to see you around here. A lady who knows what she wants is hot. Yep, in the same manner that a guy who knows what he wants is hot as well. Because I feel that these days a lot of people are just confused. You don't know what you want anymore. You go to school and okay, you pick a degree, but you're still like, what the hell am I doing with my time? Why am I here? So, but anyways, that sounds like a male with mommy issues. Most women don't know what they want. And that's true. Most people don't know what they want. At some point, I didn't know what I wanted. What the hell is this? Okay. Um, and I guess it's because we have so much information in our hands now. We see what other people do with their lives as opposed to us figuring out on our own what we want for ourselves. We have too many, can I call them role models? Sure. We have too many role models, too many people modeling different lifestyles. And then you find yourself confused. You're like, that aspect of that person's lifestyle is very appealing. I want that. Become confused. We no longer have an idea of what we want to study and why. And if we do know what we want to study, we don't see it as practical because it either doesn't pay enough, it doesn't give you enough time off, it doesn't give you benefits for you to have a full life outside of your job. So I guess having a lot of information in your hands is a double-edged sword because it can keep you distracted for a long time. It can educate you, but it can also alter your perception of reality. And I feel that that's where a lot of people end up being trapped to the point that you start expecting unrealistic stuff out of your partners. Like I said earlier during the stream, I really expected for guys to be flying without wings, and stuff takes time. But we arrive to this world in modern days and we see that everything is done for us. We don't see the process of something being made. The highway is completed, the home you're living in is completed, Probably if your parents own a home and they have been paying for it in for a long time, you'll probably inherit that, so you will not feel the need to go through the process of purchasing your own home. You don't know what mortgages are. You just don't know anything. You are protected from all those processes because someone else did the job for you. And because you are missing out on that experience, you are no longer thinking like a builder. You're thinking of convenience. So I would imagine that we can apply that to relationships. Oh, you don't have anything on you? Well, I can find someone who already has stuff going on for them. And it's the cycle of you want to find someone who is ready as opposed to building and going through the process of achieving the optimal status in your relationship. You're if you're looking, let's say that I'm a diva. Let's say that I'm looking for a rich, handsome, childless, never married guy. As opposed to working with a guy who maybe has never been married, he is building his business to have resources in the future. I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking about the stuff that I want now, as opposed to being like, you know what? The process of getting there to achieve the success that someone else probably inherited, and for some reason I am valuing that and letting that impress me. How about if I stick to the guy who is working hard, coming from nothing, and at least he is determined, and in the same manner that he's determined to his projects, he will be determined to make things work with me. Like a guy who can afford to get rid of stuff, to move, to have different partners whenever they desire, they don't value what it takes to build something and enjoy it. When something gets handed down to you, you take it for granted. You really do not anything. But when you have something because it cost you, you protect that mug like crazy. I mean, like, I would imagine that the people who own a new car for the first time, you're like, wow, I've had many cars before. They were used. And, because they were kind of beat up, I did not really take care of them as much. But when you get your new ride, you don't want dust in it. You don't want finger marks in it. You pretty much worship that mug because it's costing you a lot. So I guess people don't have their values straight. They want to experience certain benefits while valuing the wrong stuff. And that's why you are never satisfied. You do not have a realistic definition that the traits that you seek do not go hand in hand with certain aspects of an individual's life. It's not inherent. And then you discover that, and that's when you become frustrated. And you're like, oh, relationships are not worth it, or whatever it is that people say. But, anyways, that's just my opinion. I'm just trying to piece things together. I believe if anybody is being that person, I believe anybody being with that person more than 5 years, they should marry that person. People are so afraid of getting their heart broken. That's why it's so hard getting close to this person. How are you, Zamri? Well, I guess the frustrating aspect of relationships that last a long time presently, I would say, is that, okay, you can spend years with someone, but a lot of people are not really spending quality time with each other. Because, I mean, I had been in relationships that lasted a long time. And, like, I've hit the 4-year mark. Nowhere was marriage mentioned. And if it was mentioned, it led to fights. So clearly, I've, it's like you're being involved with someone who clearly isn't right for you. And just because you have a lot of time with somebody, if it's not quality interpersonal time, it's not indicative that it is a relationship that can make it to marriage. I mean, there's been instances of people who have been 10 years together and they decide that they want to split. 8 years together, they want to split. So, of course, because you give such a huge chunk of your time to someone, you end up feeling kind of resented. It's like, I gave you my 20s and now we are departing. Now what? Or I gave you my 30s and stuff. Now we're splitting. It's time that I'll never get back. So, eh, when I think about that, that's why I'm like, man, I'm just going to be one protective ass cookie of myself and not take any risks. But then I'm like, no, I need to take the risk because I have goals, and those goals uh, include a guy. I need to have a guy to fulfill all of those things. So, because I cannot accept another medium to achieving that. For instance, I want to be a mother, but I am not going to grab someone's random DNA and just stick it into me, let a child develop, and boom, I have my child. And oh, you could also adopt. I mean, what if I want children of my own? Like, why do I have to settle for someone else's offspring? Like, nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not criticizing the people who do that at all. Like, it's a good thing that that child has an opportunity to have a better life. But I'm just saying, what if I want my own? But I would also like for the guy who is responsible for that happening to be a part of it, because children need both parents. So, but anyways, that is also something that should be explored in another topic. And to answer your question, I am a little bit under the weather, but other than that, pretty good. Pretty good. Well said. It is very important to find a person who really loves you, good times or bad times, and accepted you for being you on both sides, and nobody can rush on relationships. Yeah, that's true. And I guess because people are aware that relationships take time and effort, you go for relationships like you treat jobs these days, which is, it's a temporary job. So you look at relationships like they're a temporary thing. And then you wonder why you're lonely, why you don't have stability. And I'm like, well, maybe do not have a life in which you're thinking about, you switch jobs because you find a better offer. You're treating people the same way. You are leaving your current relationship because you found a better offer. And usually the inspiration is a monetary one. This guy is like way ahead already. He has a house and whatnot. Shoot, I'm totally going for him. What are your values? If you are genuine about not being lonely and not being lonely, you need to define the traits and the characteristics and the process that not ending up in that status demands. And if you have issues with that, you need to redefine your priorities, period. So, anyways, you guys, I think I'm going to end it right here. I really don't have anything else to add or say or expand on, but I'll keep thinking about this, and maybe later on I may revisit this topic, or say if I find a person who I feel, or if I find myself in a stage in my life where I can be that person again, where I'm just constantly submissive. It's like, okay, cool. I'll let you guys know how that goes. But for right now, I feel like modern days, it's just particularly challenging, and it's because of all the influences that we have all around us. Zebra, I really understand you. People do want to start their own family, and nothing wrong with living with that person's other child, but it's important that the baby mom or baby daddy won't be crazy better on you. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that I deserve to be sharing my man with another woman for the rest of my life. So that's why I say, no matter how good or how great a man is, until I have children of my own or something, I am not interested in recycling a man, because I don't think I deserve that. I think I deserve stability. I have waited. I have taken care of myself. I have not, you know, messed up to put it in blunt terms. So clearly that's very important to me and I'm taking it seriously. So I'm not going to allow for just any random guy to take that from me. No. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in and I'll see you soon.